I would like to talk to you about slavery, but I would like to tell you the whole story of slavery, not the half story that you've heard. Every few years in American politics, an idea floats up. We need to pay reparations to the black Americans for the fact that they were brought over here as slaves. I call this the guilt tax. Now we need to understand, if we're going to talk about slaves in the West and America, we need to understand that all the slaves that came to America were wholesaled by Muslims on the west coast of Africa. Now the Muslims also ran a slave trade on the Mediterranean coast and the east coast of Africa. I've never met anybody who knows much about the real whole history of slavery. Everyone knows the half story, the evil white man on a wooden ship on the west coast of Africa. But we need to study the entire history of slavery. First off, slavery is universal. The name slave comes from the word Slav, which are Eastern Europeans. All tribes and cultures had slavery, and there were different kinds of slaves. For instance, the Romans had slaves who were accountants and teachers, but they also had slaves who did mining work and gladiators. Native Americans had slaves, and there was a peculiar form of slavery in Europe and Russia called serfdom, in which when you bought the land, the people came with it. Slavery was accepted in Christianity, Buddhism, Judaism. The Greeks had slaves, the Egyptians had slaves, and all the countries in what we now call the Middle East today all had slaves. What finally stopped all this slavery business? Well, I'll tell you. It was called a better slave, the steam engine. That was the reason we started using mechanical slaves instead of people slaves. Now, why was Islam into the slave business? Because slavery was in Arabia long before Muhammad, but Muhammad was involved in every aspect of slavery. Slavery is found in the Quran, the Sirah, and the Hadith. Indeed, there's a complete formal doctrine of slavery in political Islam.